What is going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, June 16th, 2023, and we are back for another weekly live stream. For those of you who are new to the channel, I go live every single Friday and I talk about a different array of topics that I couldn't cover throughout the week, especially now that I upload one video a day. And man, it's a lot to talk about today. But before we get started, if you have not done so already, make sure you go ahead and hit that like and share button. If you are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as hit the bell twice so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. So let's see, who do we have in here so far? We have Jerome, Scoop 2003, DSA1, Cool Spider, PD Chicago B1, Tia to you, Janesta, Joseph Washington, the My Voice channel, Spidey, Miss Butterscotch, Charles, Jameson, Tildog 12, Joy 31608, Lady Messenger, Jerlene H, Puppet _ Master, Savion, DSM Sinister, and Queen of Spades. I'm glad that everyone is here so far. I hope everybody had a good week. I hope everybody's having a good day. I know that I am. And I always like to come on here every single Friday and pretty much kind of like wrap the week up with everybody and see how everybody is doing. Jarlene said this live stream is looking too good. Oh, yes, it most definitely is. It most definitely will be. I try to make sure that that's the case for all the live streams that I do, considering I only do one a week. Let's see, who else do we have in here? Pork and Beans. What a name. Alicia Givens, Denise Scales. Before we really get into it, how many people watched the premiere video that I did on Michelle Rodriguez today? Just put a 1 in the chat if you watched the video that I did on Michelle Rodriguez today. Janessa said, what? No face. Spidey said, I'm not, no camera. Yeah, I'm keeping the camera off today. Okay, cool. It was a lot of people in there. Like I said, I have a love-hate. Y'all know I have a love-hate relationship with this platform. But for that video today, the algorithm was, as they say, was algorithming on my side. It was almost 400 people in there for a 25+ minute video. It was a lot of people that really was tuned in to what I had to say about Michelle Rodriguez. But shout out to everybody who was there. But just keep that in mind, because I actually have a video that I'm going to play in this live stream that kind of is linked to that story, but it's about somebody else. And if you didn't get a chance to watch it, you can, well, after this stream is over, of course, you can go ahead and watch it. Of course, it was the video uploaded today, so you can't miss it. Tildor said, again, loving the jazzy background music on the vids. I appreciate it. Listen, Epidemic Sound is fire for these royalty-free, copyright-free music that I downloaded to incorporate into the backgrounds of my videos or into these streams. I'm loving these sounds. I can't get, I find myself going onto that site at least once a week and downloading at least 5 songs per week. That way I can have them switch up so they can sound different every time y'all hear it in a stream or hear it in one of the videos. And when it comes to this, I like to have it be like a jazzy kind of sound of music. Sometimes I will have like a hip hop sound and beat in there too, but I like to switch it up. So yeah, I'm gonna give it about 2 more minutes and we will go ahead and get started. Miss Butterscotch said, I didn't even know who the heifer was. Well, I don't fault you for not knowing who Michelle Rodriguez is, but now that you know her, you can act accordingly. But yeah, she's been saying some slick stuff for quite some time now. This is not her first ride at the rodeo saying these type of things at like whatsoever. Like, I was able to retrieve that thing that she said in pertaining to Liam Neeson. It wasn't that hard to get that. But I'm not surprised that she said that. That's just who she is. Give it about 1 more minute and we will get started. I think another reason why I'm liking these background music is because June, of course, is Black Music Month, for those of you who are unaware. So I'm loving the sounds of this type of music. I'm like, you can tell that this is like our art form right here. So this is almost like I'm in a way, I'm gonna say I'm contributing, but I'm putting this kind of music into my videos so people can hear, I guess you could say, what people would say is a lost art form. What's going on, David? Oh, what's up, Auntie? What's going on? I'm glad everybody is here who is here. Okay, it is officially 6:10. So we will go ahead now and get started. Let me go ahead and let's see, share my screen and make sure the audio is on. Of course, when it comes to stories, every time I come on here every week, I like to start off with the positive stories first, and then we go into the nonsense. First positive story I want to acknowledge. I know some of you may or may not watch the NBA, but it is what it is. But I wanted to give them their acknowledgement. Shout out to the Denver Nuggets for winning the 2023 NBA championship. And not only with them winning that, this is the first time in the team's franchise history have they ever won a NBA championship, like ever. This is their first one they've ever won. And I think the reason why I'm highlighting this is because I'm just glad that it wasn't the usual Warriors and Lakers. I nothing against those two teams, but I get tired of hearing about the Warriors and the Lakers. I'm glad it was another team. Of course, if y'all have been paying attention, it came down between the Nuggets and the Heat, Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets, and the Denver Nuggets bested Miami. So I'm glad that a different team finally won. I like the little, how they can switch it up, because when it's the same team, it gets boring. So congratulations to them. So that's the first bit of good news. Now, this news right here is kind of back and forth. It's good if it is true, but it's also a bittersweet thing as well. So apparently, Tyler Perry has bought BET and VH1. Now, the reason why I say it's kind of iffy with this is because it's like I'm seeing some reports saying that he did, and then I'm seeing some saying that's not exactly all the way true. So I'm not entirely sure, but I keep hearing more saying that he did purchase BET and VH1, which we all know BET and VH1 are both, or if it's true he bought them, were both owned by Viacom for quite some time. BET got purchased by Viacom well over 20 years ago and has been in your hands ever since. Now, like I said, I don't know how entirely true it is that he did buy BET or not. They're saying that it is a rumor that he did, but it's some other things that's saying that he did. However, if he did purchase BET, it's bittersweet. I'm gonna say it's bitter because if the programming does not change, and it's like, okay, you might as well just stay in the hands of Viacom. If it's sweet because it's back in the hands of a black person. But like I said, Tyler Perry has a lot of programming on that BET Plus streaming service, like a lot. Like most of the BET Plus stuff, I don't have BET Plus, by the way, is his material. Tyler Perry had a lot of his stuff on OWN for a while, but then he took all of the stuff off of OWN and threw it onto BET or BET Plus. And for a while, I'm sitting here saying to myself, maybe he should just go ahead and get BET because a lot of his stuff is over there. And I know that there was always this thing of who was going to buy BET and whatnot. Right there, his name always came up. And I think out of all the people that could have bought BET, he would probably be the most viable one, especially since he has his own studios. But like I said, if it is indeed true, kudos to him. Like that's going to be different because they said that if this is true, he will be the first black person to own two major networks, which would be BET and VH1. Sean from the side said, yeah, the real BET left long ago. Yeah, it did. Man, listen, I was reminiscing about the BET of old, like the BET I grew up with, because I was born in 89. So I grew up throughout the 90s and early 2000s. But for me, the early 2000s, you had stuff like 106 and Park, you had Teen Summit, you had Rap City in the Basement, You had Cedar's World. You had BET Nightly News. For those raunchy folks, BET Uncut. And a host of other shows that happened back like in the early 2000s. And that was all in the early 2000s. You had Access Granted. You had the BET Top 25 Countdown. I used to watch that every Saturday from 2 to 5. So yeah. But yeah, that BET, the BET of that time, listen, back then when the BET Awards was worth watching, Joseph watching another one, College Hill. Man, College Hill was huge when I was in high school. And it was huge when I was in college, as a matter of fact, because the show was still on when I got into college. I remember when the game had got canceled off of CW, and BET bought it back. So yeah, it was like, BET at one point was, worth watching. Like I said, the BET Awards used to be worth looking forward to. Now, not so much. I actually just found out that the BET Awards is coming on June 25th, which is 2 Sundays from now, which is also the anniversary of Michael Jackson's death. And it's like, I've only seen slight commercials for it. I don't know how they're actually going to do a show because of the writer's strike. And a lot of shows or award shows have to have a script behind it. And because the writer's strike is still going on, it's kind of hard for them to do that. So I don't know how they're going to have an award ceremony unless they have it where they mail the awards to all of the nominees and they just announce who the winners are on air. That's the only way I can see it, because that's what they had to do with the MTV Movie Awards. They just basically made a comp video of all the winners for the different awards and posted it up on their channel, and that was it. So yeah. But either way, if Tyler Perry is now the owner of BET and VH1, definitely huge kudos and congratulations to him. Hopefully the programming does change for the better, but I won't hold my breath. Spidey said, "What about Real Husbands of Hollywood?" I didn't really get into that. I mean, I watched a couple of episodes. I think I watched more so the first season, but then I fell off after the first season. In the second season, I was just like over it. But you gotta think, at that time when those shows were on, I was in college. So when I was in college, I wasn't in my dorm room a lot, except for when I needed to rest or whenever I was like sleeping from day to day. Otherwise, I was always outside in the yard somewhere. Like, I was pretty social. I'll put it like that. So I wasn't watching TV that much when I was in college. I watched some TV, but not a lot. So I didn't really watch that show like that, but I do remember it now. But now that we have gotten the hold on, he said, Clown says, does he actually own 100%? 9 times out of 10, he probably will own 100%. You got to think, like, 2 networks. But I don't know. Like I said, like, it's still up in the air about the BET. Because like I said, some reports are saying that he has it and some are saying that it's not all the way true. But I guess we'll see going forward. I don't see why he shouldn't be able to own 100% if that is the case, though. Of course, he's going to have some investors, definitely. But now that we have handled the good news, I do have to insert a bit of sad news. And this bit of sad news actually came my way like a couple hours ago. And that is with the unfortunate passing of Ray Lewis III. Yes, Ray Lewis's son. He passed away, I believe, today, or at least it was announced today that he passed away at the age of 28. Right now, there are no reports as to the cause of death. It was made public by his brother on Instagram, I believe, when he announced that his brother had passed away, but they didn't go into details of how he died. They just said that he passed away, and that's it. So I don't know what the details are behind this, but that's very unfortunate because 28 is young. He unfortunately did not make it to 30. I remember doing a video about Ray Lewis III on my original channel back in 2016. And I'll say that the report that I talked about or the story that was out there, it didn't show him in the best of light. But either way, besides all of that, I don't think much came from that since then, because nothing really came from it after the fact. It just kind of fizzled out. But either way, that is sad and it is unfortunate that he passed away. Auntie said, I heard about his death yesterday. Okay, so he must have passed away yesterday, and I'm just finding out about it today. Because I didn't really hear too much about it. I didn't see it trending online or anything of that nature. But either way, I do offer my condolences to Ray Lewis and to his family and his siblings and friends and associates and all of that stuff right there. I'm sure in the coming days it might be put out there what the cause of death was, because right now we don't know what it is. It's just that we know he unfortunately is no longer here. But now that we have handled these stories, now let's get into the nonsense. And the first bit of nonsense we're going to talk about today is a person who more than ever deserves to be on Operation Protect the White Boy, and that is none other than Conor McGregor. Now, there are two stories that are out now about Conor McGregor. The first one is this one right here. Now, some of you may have heard, well, you heard about this one, you probably heard about the other one too. But one of the stories that I heard was that, or see, is that Conor McGregor had punched a mascot in what was supposed to be as a skit. They're saying that he's saying that it's a skit, but I guess this was supposed to be a skit gone wrong, because he hit the mascot or the person inside the mascot costume so hard that he ended up hospitalizing the person inside of the mascot suit. So it says UFC star Conor McGregor appeared to downplay the punches he delivered to Miami Heat mascot Bernie during Game 4 of the NBA Finals last week. McGregor spoke to journalist Adam Glenn on Tuesday and said he talked to the person in the costume and there was no animosity between the two. The mascot is good. It was a skit and all is well, he told Glenn. I spent a lot of time with him afterward and we talked it out. Everything is great. It was all a part of the show. McGregor and Bernie were at half court during a timeout, and the MMA fighter punched Bernie twice. The person in the costume briefly sought medical attention. The team said Sunday the employee received pain medication and was resting at home. You want to believe that, to tell me that's a skit? Now you got to think, Conor McGregor is an MMA fighter. He's a UFC fighter. His hits hit a lot different than the average person. So you got to think this person was in a costume and he injured this person in a costume. It's not like they didn't have a headgear on. These hits hit this person so hard that this is how they got left. Look at them on the ground. They probably seeing stars right now. McGregor was at the arena as a promotional gimmick for a pain relief spray. The mascot was wearing oversized boxing gloves and a robe akin to what a fighter would wear for a boxing match. McGregor connected with a left hook and then punched the mascot again when he fell to the floor. He tried to spray the mascot with pain relief product before he was taken off of the floor. Head coach Eric Spoelstra lauded the toughness of the man in the suit. That's the Miami Heat toughness we're talking about, Spoelstra said Sunday. He should have been allowed, to take the first swing. We won't reveal who that is, but he's tough. He can take a punch and get back out there. And like Spidey said in the chat, this is not the first time Conor McGregor has been in some incidents. Remember a couple years ago when he had hit that old man at that Irish pub over in Ireland? See, they don't like to talk about the behavior that Conor McGregor engages himself in quite often. And I told y'all at the beginning of the year, going back to what happened with Dana White and his wife on New Year's Eve, there have been endless stories coming out about people who are UFC fighters or MMA fighters who have been engaged in all types of debauchery. Most of it domestic. But yeah, the other story, I don't have it up, but the other story about Conor McGregor was that he allegedly sexually assaulted this woman in a bathroom. I don't know if y'all heard about that or not. It's some that one still has some developing things behind it, but that was the other story. Tawana Cook said the old man didn't want to drink with him. See how it didn't take much for him to go off, all because he didn't want to take a drink with him? There you go. All right, let's move on to the next story. Now, the next story is a video, and the video is about 4.5 minutes long. I'm going to go ahead and make this widescreen. We're going to put fair use on this, and I'm going to read the title. DEA, Chinese organized crime laundering money for Mexican drug cartels.
With deadly consequences. It's the latest report in our series, Captives of Cannabis.
It's early in the morning in Riverside County, California. These sheriff's deputies are about to execute a dozen search warrants on residential homes. They say they're going to find illegal marijuana grows there and victims of human trafficking working on those grows. But first, they're going to go after the leader of the operation. Is this person a mid-level operator, kingpin, mastermind?
I would say this is a mid-level operator. We believe that the people that are ultimately in control are likely in China.
Search warrant, open the door.
All right. Nice and easy.
What did you guys find in there?
We found several documents that ultimately link these suspects living in this home to several of the other locations that we've been investigating.
The couple's arrested, and deputies focus on the organized crime ring they say this grow appears to be a part of.
We don't know how large this organization is, but we do believe that it is global to some extent.
If it is so big, how come you guys are out here alone? Where's the federal government? Where's the DEA?
That's a great question.
To push for answers, we met Bill Bodner, DEA's special agent in charge of Los Angeles, for an exclusive interview. In our reporting, we've seen Chinese nationals involved in the illicit cannabis trade. The law enforcement that we've been talking to says that they believe that the bosses of those operations are back in China. How is that connected to what you're seeing?
The Chinese criminal organizations have such a desire for U.S. dollars in cash that they're getting into a variety of criminal enterprises to create that cash. And I'm not surprised to hear that them running cannabis grows, it's generating cash that they're then using to accomplish capital flight out of China.
In other words, the DEA says this form of organized crime is one that extends far beyond black market cannabis and is rooted in a desire for Chinese nationals in the U.S. to get their money out of China due to recent restrictions in how much they can take out of the country. A U.S. Treasury official tells NBC News that Chinese criminal organizations are operating in the U.S. and now working with Mexican cartels by helping them launder money made from meth, fentanyl, and other drugs. They do so by loaning out the cartel's dollars to unsuspecting Chinese people living in America. These criminal organizations are then repaid in Chinese currency back in China, and the money launderers buy Chinese products and have them shipped to Mexico, where they're sold and give that money in pesos back to the cartels. In the end, no money actually crosses international borders, and the Treasury Department says the dirty dollars are, quote, disappearing into thin air. The DEA says instead of products like the clothes and appliances that were once widely available here in LA's wholesale district, the products money launderers are sending from China to Mexico are deadly.
Guess which product is very available in China that's not available here at all? Precursor chemicals. It was the synthetic drug explosion in 2015 and 2016. When this capital flight model started, precursor chemicals were used as a way to transfer wealth.
In Mexico, the precursors are made into meth and fentanyl, synthetic drugs that have caused U.S. overdose deaths to more than double since 2015.
Hey, Sinaloa cartel, let me introduce you to Chinese organized crime. That's what happened. And by working together, they've been able to get millions, if not billions of dollars out of China into the United States, and they've been able to use a synthetic drug trade to do it.
For you in the DEA, how do you go after stopping this from happening?
Our focus is 100% Sinaloa cartel, Jalisco New Generation cartel, and it's because of this synthetic drug trade. It's like nothing we've seen before.
Until then, Mexican cartels and Chinese organized crime continue to use the United States as their middleman, with no end in sight. Jacob Soboroff, NBC News.
So y'all just heard that report. Very interesting indeed. I think the most interesting part was when the reporter asked the cop, where's the DEA? And the cop could only shrug his shoulders and throw his arms out and say, I don't know, or say that's a good question. And like I was reading the chat as the video was playing, and somebody had said, I can't remember who it was, said they had no plans of sending in the DEA or the FBI, which could most likely be very true. They were going to just let this thing just continue to fester, as you can see. So as you can see, it's like one big global ring that's going on right now. They said it started off with just weed, but I said it can't be just because of just some weed. I said it's got to be more. And when they mentioned fentanyl and meth, I said, Now keep this in mind. Who watched the live stream, whether you caught it while it was live or caught the playback that I did last week, where there is a $17.3 billion settlement for opioid settlement of $17.3 billion in 22 states so far. I'm willing to bet that all of this is connected. It's one, like I said, it's one big ring. One big, endless, infinite ring. And look at who's involved. The Mexicans and the Chinese. So you say ain't no one laundering money over weed. Like I said, like it's a cover for what they're really doing it for. And they mentioned it in this video, meth and fentanyl. That's where the money is. And who's the largest immigrant group that is getting into America right now? Who's the main demographic? I call them south of the Borderian. What's going on, Carla and Val, aka the Doublemint Twins? I swear sometimes I'll be thinking y'all the same person because y'all pop up in the chat at the same time. But what's going on with y'all? So now we see a new coalition. Spidey said, notice how the Puerto Ricans are nowhere near this. Well, I wouldn't even say that. Well, I won't even put them there because these are Mexicans. They're talking about Mexicans and Puerto Ricans in two different groups. But I understand what you're implying. But like I said, just keep this stuff in mind, for future reference. Whenever they want to talk about drugs, refer back to this. But let's move on to the next story. And this next story involves someone who, for some reason, has been ending up in my live streams constantly now. And that's mainly because we're keeping tabs on it. And that's Daniel Penny. So everybody has most likely heard about what's going on with Daniel Penny. And that is that he has been indicted for the killing of Jordan Neely. When I found out about this the other day, I immediately posted the link on Twitter and I said, PC is throwing jars of mayo across the room right now. All this saying, oh, Daniel Penny's a hero. He's this, that, and the third. Now he done got indicted. Now, to those in the chat and to everybody else who was aware of this news before today, do not get overly excited. You never get overly excited when it comes to situations such as these. This just means they have enough evidence to go forward and possibly bring more charges besides that one they already have. I just want people to know, I just want people to not get excited, because I think I saw some people on Twitter get excited. I said, don't get it too excited. Just know that this is the first step of many, because many of his so-called supporters who called him a hero, they upset right now. If you want to be excited about them being mad, then okay. But don't get excited over this. This is just the first step. Because remember, we still want a conviction, and we want to know what the sentencing is. I think by now, most of us over here knows how this game works. But I will say this. I will say this. I don't get surprised by many things, but the way it was looking for a little bit, I was a little slightly shocked that a grand jury did indict him, considering how many times a grand jury in the past has been known to not indict people when it comes to situations such as these, mainly cops. Now, one thing I've said that I believe hurt Daniel Penny more than anything, or is going to hurt him, is that he's constantly doing these interviews or giving these statements. Do y'all remember when he made that statement last month where he said, I was planning a trip to Africa before this happened? And I'm sitting here saying to myself, what are you talking about? Because remember, it was around that time everyone was saying that he was a dub S. And to try to absolve himself of that label, he said something along the lines of, oh, I was going to Africa. I was planning a trip to Africa. I did a video about it. Well, he also recently, and I'm gonna actually say it now because I actually do have a video coming soon about it, and I'm gonna go into more detail about it. He made another statement in another interview where he said, and I quote, I felt I had a moral obligation to do what I did. That was in the second interview that he did. I want to say he did that interview maybe last week. I think he did the interview last week where he said he felt that he had a moral obligation to do what he did. I'm like, do you not know what the line says? Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So if he is indicted by the grand jury just based off of that, and that's just my assumption, then he is the cause for his own indictment. And it makes you wonder, what kind of a team does he have? Or is it because a lot of his so-called supporters are big upping him? They're giving him a big ego, calling him a hero. Now he feels like he's invincible. Well, he's not that invincible as he thinks, but we shall see. Again, we will keep our close, watchful eye on this story. But that's the latest update when it comes to Daniel Penny. Let me see what y'all talking about in the chat. Dark Titan said he is a moron. Queen Mommy says, so we need to let him know that he is not the judge and jury of our people. Mr. Lone Wolf said there's a difference between restraining someone and putting someone in a chokehold. Southern Lady Brown says possibly they had more black jurors, but we'll see. Miss Butterscotch said I pay tickets to view that. Sean from the shot said he's going to interview his ass into jail. Keep talking. I said the same thing, Auntie. I said keep talking. I always tell people when they start talking, let them keep talking. He's going to talk himself into a cell. The best thing he could have done if his team was smart was to not have him do any interviews. Like, why would you have your client out there talking? A lot of times they don't even want their clients to take the stand when it comes to trial. Like they have, they'll ask them if they want to, and they have the right to waive it if they choose to or choose not to want to get on that stand. Something tells me with all the talking he's been doing, he might be the dummy to actually get on the stand. Ebony said, research his father and grandfather. I know about his father. I know his father used to be in internal affairs for 30 years. His father used to be in internal affairs. I'm not sure what his grandfather did, but I know that his father was internal affairs. So he has that cop connection right there, even though he's not a cop himself. And keep this in mind, Daniel Penny was in the military. He was in the Marines. So he had military training. So he knew exactly what he was doing when he put Jordan Neely into that chokehold. He knew how long it would take for Jordan to pass out. And two, how long he had to hold on for in order to kill him. Because I'm very sure that the military or in the Marines, they taught him that. They taught him where the pressure points were, What did you have to do to subdue someone in that position, and how long you had to hold it for, and where? So, yeah, I hope that the team that's on, Jordan Neely's side, his family, takes all of that into consideration. But if this goes to trial, I think that this trial should be televised. This trial and the one for Tyree Nichols, those two, in my opinion, should be televised. And if not televised, put online so you could stream it, so you can watch it on like YouTube or something like that. I truly believe that these two the Tyree Nichols one, well, those cops that did that to him should be televised, as well as this one if it does go to trial. I believe any high profile case should definitely be televised. I would definitely watch and follow along as much as I possibly could. But let's move on to the next story. And shout out to Harvey, because I think Harvey was the only person I saw so far talk about this. I hadn't found out about it before he did, but he talked about it before I had a chance to, because I was saving it for the live stream. And that's this person right here named John Wang. Now, if y'all want to know the definition of someone putting their foot in their mouth, meet John Wang. And John Wang, it says, Asian American student with a 1590 SAT score blames affirmative action for rejection from 6 colleges. How many people in this chat heard of this story? Put a 1 if you heard of this story. Put a 2 if you have not heard of this story. Again, if you're subscribed to Harvey, aka Your World, you most likely have heard of this story, because he did a video about it like a couple days ago. So I'm seeing some 1s and I'm seeing some 2s. A lot of 1s. So that means is a good chance that he did. Blueberry Muffin said, don't give a shit. Oh, you will when I read the story, because, I'm not even going to spoil it. I'm just going to go ahead and read the article. An Asian American student from Florida with a 1590 SAT score who was rejected from 6 elite universities has joined the Supreme Court case seeking to end race-based admissions. Now, I have a video coming up where it's a piggyback video off of this story, where there's a lot of people in the Asian American community who are trying to, quote unquote, end race-based admissions. And I'm basically saying how full of crap they are. But you'll see what I mean when I upload that video. John Wang, an 18-year-old student with a 4.65 high school GPA and a perfect score in the SAT's math section, was rejected from MIT, Caltech, Princeton, Harvard, Carnegie Mellon, and the University of California, Berkeley. He blames affirmative action, which notably was banned in California in 1995. He blamed affirmative action for why he didn't get into this school, all the while it was banned years before he was even born. 10 years to be exact. Or maybe 10 or 11 years to be exact. But it doesn't stop there. He said, I gave them my test scores, and then they must have ran the model on that. They told me I had a 20% chance of getting accepted to Harvard as an Asian American and 95% chance as an African American. Wang, whose parents immigrated from China, told Fox News. So he immediately went to black people. That was the immediate group that he mentioned, was black people. Now, I was looking at a chart for the school he was trying to get into. The second highest demographic to get accepted into this school, which I believe is University of California, Berkeley, that he was applying to, the second highest group is Asians. Of course, the first being PC. And I believe if the chart, my memory serves me correctly, the chart stated that 15% of Asians get accepted into that school. And the third highest group was Black people, and Black people were less than 10% of the entries into that school. But somehow, him not getting into that school is Black people's fault. Interesting. Oops, clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry, y'all. Wang has since been accepted at Georgia Institute of Technology. Wang joined the anti-affirmative action nonprofit Students for Fair Admissions, or the SFFA, which is currently seeking to overturn the Supreme Court's 2003 ruling in Grutter versus Bollinger in cases against Harvard and the University of North Carolina. Well, I'm going to say this. If they did overturn affirmative action, that still wouldn't do nothing for Black people, considering affirmative action was supposed to be for Black people. But put in the chat, I want to see where y'all are at. Who does affirmative action benefit the most? What group of people does affirmative action benefit the most? Who are the biggest benefactors? To all of those who said white women, congratulations, you get the little gold star. It has been heavily documented that white women are the biggest benefactors of affirmative action. There have been so many studies that have proven that over and over and over again. So if John Wayne wants to be mad at anybody, he needs to be mad at them. But we know he ain't going to call them out. Let's see what else they're talking about in here. The two landmark cases, Students for Fair Admissions versus President and Fellows of Harvard and Students for Fair Admissions versus University of North Carolina, were kept separate by the Supreme Court due to Harvard's status as a private institution. UNC, on the other hand, is public. The case against Harvard examines whether the university violated Title VI of the Civil Rights Act by discriminating against Asian American applicants in favor of white applicants, while UNC is similarly being sued for refusing to consider a race-neutral alternatives in their admissions. The Supreme Court is expected to make its decision for both cases before July 4th. Listen, dude, you just didn't get into the school. It is what it is, but don't go in there throwing Black people under the bus because you didn't get into the school. But like I said, I have another video coming up that I recorded, I think like 2 days ago, that's going to expound more on this. But like Harvey said in his video, many of them think that we should not be able to get into certain levels or certain areas of achievement, that they put us into a box of entertainment, whether it's sports, acting, singing, rapping, or anything like that. That's the box that they have put us in. But when it comes to anything else, we're not supposed to go in that lane. We're swerving out of our lane, as they say. And he's clearly upset about it. Oh, well, he found a school that he wanted to go to, but you know, it is what it is. Maybe he can get into their grad program. I'm sure they have a grad program. And on top of that, he's in Florida. He's talking about University of California, Berkeley. You know that they usually do in-state than out-of-state, right? I was hoping that he would be smart enough to know that. You want to know what's so crazy? As a person who went to an HBCU, if he applied to an HBCU, he for sure would have gotten in. But you know, we are less than. Oh well, it is what it is. Let's move on to the next story. Man, oh man. So y'all know how I talked about meth and fentanyl and opioids last week. Well, this week we're going to be talking about this dude right here who has a lot on his plate, and I do mean a lot. How many of y'all heard about this Republican out of Rhode Island named Matthew Riley? I thought it would be some volume here, but it's not. But the reason why I'm bringing this video up is because if you saw right here, look at him. This guy's not sleeping on the side of the road because he's tired. This dude was asleep on the side of the road because he was knocked out after getting high on crack, because it wasn't cocaine, on crack and fentanyl. This guy was riding the white pony for real. And I think they said someone had passed him as they was driving by and they saw him knocked out in his car. But yeah, that's him right there, knocked out until the police came and got him. I don't think they have no volume to this because it's nothing. It's no sound playing. But that's when they got him. He didn't. That man was so high as a kite, he didn't even realize he was knocked out. And he tried to say, "Oh, I was just sleeping and whatnot." But when they got him out of the car, they had found the crack pipe. They had found residue on the seat and a whole bunch of stuff. And now he's smiling. And look at his eyes. He got red around his eyes. He don't know where he at. They had to guide him through the conversation. I'm talking right now because, again, there's no sound.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Listen,
I was just on my way back from court.
bro.
The cop has to keep himself from laughing when this guy. Let me run it back a little bit because the cop looked like he wanted to laugh.
No, not at all.
Oh, no way, dude. Really?
Yes, yes. I was just on my way back from court.
Bro. Well, Orestes going to come check you out, man. I can't let you go. You were literally choking in your sleep. Somebody flagged me down about it.
Oh, I have sleep apnea. I'm sorry.
Well, and then you have a crack pipe in your hand. So it's like.
He tried to say he had insomnia. This dude tried to say he had insomnia. And the cop said, "You had a crack pipe in your hand." Yep, slurred speech, Blueberry Muffin and Ebony. His speech is so slurred, he almost sounds like he's slobbering. Now, if you look at the timestamp, May 15th, 2023, this was a month ago. I'm going to give y'all the update to this soon.
Wait, sorry.
Listen, I have a body camera. Obviously, everything I have is recorded.
I'm sorry, sleep apnea. Thanks, Queen Mommy. I couldn't tell if it was insomnia or sleep apnea.
You know that, and what I've observed is on camera, so I can't pretend I didn't. You know, so Orestes going to come here, and they're going to check you out. You know, as far as I know,
when the cop told him, he said, "I can't pretend I didn't see," and we're going to have to arrest you. He says, "Oh Jesus," I think reality kicked in for him at that point.
There's no drugs anywhere, so I can't. You know, so there's not a criminal investigation. There's more a health or well-being check type thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I obviously have to document it. You know.
Look at that. Look at what they found in his car. This is his car. Look at that. This guy got residue all over the place. His car is filthy. Let's just keep that. Let's just point that out. But he got residue everywhere. And there it is right there in that little cap. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because some people hadn't seen that video, but I wanted to also talk about the update. So not only is this guy freebasing all over the place, but he's also been accused of sexual abuse. Reported June 9th, 2023. An ex-Rhode Island Republican councilman found passed out in his car while holding a crack pipe has been busted again, this time on molestation charges involving a 12-year-old girl. Matthew Riley resigned in disgrace from the Cranston City Council when cops discovered him last month lying back in his car seat, blacked out and mouth agape, after someone reported he was literally choking. Riley was charged with drug possession and later resigned from his council seat. On Thursday, Riley was back in legal trouble from an arrest in North Kingston for alleged child molestation. The Providence Journal reported, citing Cranston Police Chief Michael Winquist. Riley was charged with first and second degree child molestation, sexual assault, and enticement of a person under the age of 16. The bust was the culmination of a month-long investigation sparked by a complaint filed by the legal guardian of a 12-year-old girl, according to the newspaper. Riley was arrested with possession of a controlled substance on May 15th, about a week into the probe involving the child. The alleged crimes involving the girl took place on May 3rd. So this happened the week before he got busted in his car. That is crazy, because I'm thinking that it was a more spaced out type of deal, but they were literally like a week apart. District Court Judge Joseph Ippolito ordered Riley held without bail and that he undergo a competency hearing. Riley's lawyer, Michael LaPizarra Jr., told the Daily Beast his client entered a not guilty plea to the molestation charges. With these type of charges, I can see the general public and even close friends instantaneously turning their back on Mr. Riley and drawing knee-jerk conclusion, LaPizarra said in an email. Why would they have a knee-jerk reaction? I mean, like, why would they stay on his side? The guy literally is a crackhead. He is a basehead, and he is a child molester. Any person worth their grain in salt or has any type of morals or scruples about themselves are not going to align themselves with this filth. Like, y'all looking at the pictures of his car, I know it's filthy, ain't it? That's one thing I can't stand. That's one of my pet peeves. I cannot stand a filthy car. I cannot stand a junky car. Like, if I had to get around with somebody and I see their car, I'm like, and they got to scoop the trash off of the seat onto the floor. So now you've made room for me to sit, but now my feet are like literally stumping and crunching on trash. I simply ask everyone to refrain from public ridicule and gossip and allow the legal process to unfold in the ordinary course. While we may not have a perfect system of justice in this country, as nothing is perfect, my 30 years as a lawyer allows me to state that we have as near perfect judicial system as could exist, and we should trust in the system to be the final adjudicator of the facts, the law, and as any legal outcome. That is such a crappy statement. But I get it. You're his lawyer. You have to say something to make it sound good. There's no sounding good about this at all. Last month, Riley told the officer who shook him awake in his car that he has sleep apnea. Well, you have a crack pipe in your hands, the cop tells him, video footage shows. Riley initially denied having narcotics in his vehicle, telling police he smoked earlier and was heading to work at family court. When cops found crack cocaine in the console, he admitted to having relapsed after 13 years of sobriety, in part because of a really bad divorce. In the footage, police were seen testing the crack found in Riley's residue-coated vehicle, which contained fentanyl. He was charged with unlawful possession of crack cocaine fentanyl, a misdemeanor, and released ahead of his June 15th arraignment, which, of course, was yesterday. Mr. Long was the sleep apnea in my ass. There is no excuse. Exactly. There is no excuse. And listen, over here, we ain't going to give him one. That statement the lawyer gave, that's as far as his excuses is going to go. And that's like I said, if anybody got some morals, that's as far as it will go. Blueberry Muffin said his wife caught him with a kid. You know what? That didn't even dawn on me. Like, that's a good assumption to have, considering, you know, what transpired before this. But yeah, it's some weirdos out here. This guy is definitely falling into that category of that. And I'm not going to say the person's name on the stream who sent me the Cash App, but I will mention your initials. JG, shout out to you for the Cash App. Dono. But if y'all thought that was interesting, check out this next story that's no better, excuse me, than the previous one.
Predator finally faces justice. It's a story we've been covering from the very beginning. A former dance teacher who sexually abused his students.
As you can imagine, it was an emotional day inside that courtroom. 19 News reporter Caitlin McCarthy has the latest developments tonight.
What I see right now is your soul is lost. You have a lost soul, and the devil took over you.
Those pointed words for her son's former dance teacher. Terrence Green raped and sexually abused 9 underage students. The crime spanning over 2 decades. The mother of his last victim says Green infected her son with HIV.
My son is not going to let you get away with this. All these children that you victimized over the years.
Parents say the former CMSD and Tri-C teacher has left them heartbroken for their children.
I've been angry when I should have been giving this attention to my son. What this man did to my son, I've been angry.
As these parents cried because of what he's done, Green showed no remorse.
That I would hurt. I would never in life. God didn't give me that gift.
That message sending a father in tears.
You know what I'm saying?
I can't do this to my son.
You know, and
Green will spend the rest of his life behind bars, and these families will continue to heal.
I hope you never get out.
Green was sentenced to 365 years in prison, the price he's going to pay for the pain he's caused his victims. Reporting in Cleveland, Caitlin McCarthy, 19 News.
Like I said, if y'all thought the previous story was something, this one was really, really bad. And you saw they had to escort the dad out of there because they just knew this guy was about to pop off. He looks like he wanted to, but he refrained himself from doing so. He looked like he wanted to, but he held back from leaping across that bench and probably choking the hell out of this dude. They said that this dude gave one of his victims HIV. And I could tell he was in the academy because when I was looking at the clips, even though they kind of blurred some of it out, the way he was holding his wrist, the way he was holding, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can go back to when he was doing it. Let me mute it right quick. Right there. See how that wrist is broke? And this was reported June 8th, 2023, in so-called Pride Month. I would like to know, what does the Academy have to say about this? Do you have anything to say? Like, do you denounce this individual? I hope you do. Carlton said, to be honest, the dad should not have held back. I would have. Yeah. Tawana said he is not sorry. He definitely isn't. Like they said, he had no remorse for what he did. He still doesn't believe that he is wrong for what he did and is trying to absolve himself of any wrongdoing, as if he knows that as if he feels that he didn't do anything wrong. But that's fine. Hopefully they send him to Gen Pop and they can deal with him there. He has a whole long life where he's going to deal with the consequences of his actions. Jerome said, what is the race of this creep? He's black. You must have just came in. There he is. He's black. It's a black man. And for some reason, this story just sounds very familiar to me, especially when the part about them mentioning that he had gave HIV to one of the students, because I feel like I did a story before a couple years ago where it was a dance teacher and he had gave a student HIV, unless that was somebody else. And that's crazy because This is like the third story I've ever done on my channel involving a dance instructor messing with underage kids. And all three of them were black men. Do y'all remember the guy, the black guy who was on Netflix, the dancer? Because didn't he get sentenced last year for inappropriately messing with his students? Then there was another person I talked about. I think his was in Tennessee, who did something like this and gave one of those kids HIV. And now you got this guy messing with the kids, and one of them gets HIV. And all three of them are dance instructors, and all three of them are in the academy. Go figure. Miss Renee said, "Is that?" Oh yes, like that's why I had scrolled back and I said, "Didn't you see that broken wrist? That guy." You listen. All three of them were in the academy, and shout out to Ren 11B Airborne for the $50 super chat. Nice. He said, "Thank you, New Black Media, for keeping us informed. I appreciate it." Yes, Dark Titan, the cheerleading coach. That's what I'm talking about. Some of y'all may know what I'm talking about. I couldn't remember his name. I would definitely remember his face. And he was on some kind of cheerleading show that was on Netflix. And he got arrested and charged and sent to prison for what he did. Now, I don't think he transmitted any type of disease because I don't think he had anything. But this guy and another guy that I talked about a couple years ago definitely did. What's going on, Jordan? But yeah, but let me now move on to the next story. Now, the next two things I'm gonna talk about are actually video based. Now, going back to what I said about Michelle Rodriguez, I told people that there was an extension of that video that I wanted to show people because a lot of people have never seen this interview. Now, this is an interview that was conducted for the promotion of this movie called Smallfoot that came out 4 years ago, starring Yara Shahidi and Gina Rodriguez. There was some other people as well, but they had Yara Shahidi and Gina Rodriguez in the same room. And I told people about this interview constantly over and over again whenever I had to reference Gina. But a lot of people have never seen it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the interview for you, and I'm going to stop at a point that literally irked the hell out of me when it came to Gina Rodriguez. And at that point, I was completely turned off from her. But let me go ahead and let it play out.
Posture, I feel it so quickly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when I'm like this, and I always got to be like, yo.
Zilla Valentine. I wish I felt it when I have bad posture. When I have bad posture, I'm just like, that's fine. And I get the camera and I'm just like, why was I standing like that? And that's when I just edit over me and it puts. Smallfoot was so dope. Like just the messages in there and what it was saying and the family. You felt it even though you guys probably never saw each other while recording.
True, exactly. Never. Yeah. But we love each other. There's mad love from afar. So you get excited knowing that the other person's doing.
What was it like saying these words? Because you get to say a lot of amazing stuff for kids. What was that like for you?
Well, for me, it was fantastic because I played this science nerd who's mad curious and believes there's more and isn't afraid to seek more. And I can relate to that. I mean, that was the way I was in heaven my whole life. So, ideally, you're working on projects that you feel confident about and you stand next to and you love the message. And I think that was a huge draw for me. I'm sure, the other cast feels the same way. But to do animation allows you to live in a world where you get to talk about so many things that live action doesn't necessarily always allow you to.
The cast for this is super great. If I got this job, I would be like, oh my God, I'm in a kids movie with LeBron James.
I was more like, I'm in a kid movie with Yara. No, sorry, no.
Okay.
I was like,
also, the last time I think we spoke together, I was telling you that you should narrate a nature documentary.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I think this is the next best thing of like just being nature.
Yes. I also was like, really, Yara? That? Okay, yeah, girl, I'll do that. So maybe LeBron James and Papa's both up, but we love him. We love him.
I'm not even worried about LeBron James. I'm more excited. Did you guys get to meet Zori, his daughter?
No.
She is the most amazing person. on Instagram. Every time I see the videos, I'm like, I want to meet her.
Hopefully at the premiere. Well, there we go. Yeah, at the premiere.
You are just goals for so many young Black women who just look
For more,
up to
so many
you.
women.
So many.
There it is. There it is. That's just the beginning, y'all. That's the part that got me. You heard what he said. He looked at Yara and said, you are such goals for so many young Black girls or young Black women. And in comes Gina, so many women. So many women. Let me run that back. And ironically, this is the most replayed part of the video too.
Well, there we go. Yeah, at the premiere.
You are just goals for so many young Black women who just look
For
up
more,
to
so many
you.
women.
So
many women. He wasn't talking to you, Gina. And trust and believe, it gets worse from here. It does. Trust me, it gets worse. More for her than anything because she gets checked. But I just wanted to hone in on that part right there. Whenever I bring up Gina Rodriguez, I always think of this moment right here. And when I was looking at the comments yesterday, before I pinned this video at the top of that, Michelle Rodriguez, ironically, both of their last names are Rodriguez. I said, I want people to watch that.
women. Yeah, for women too, but for Black women, we need people on a whole nother level. How does that feel for you to be so young and just be like?
And see how he's like, yeah, you're so winning women, but for Black women, and then he immediately shifts from her because she tried to derail the conversation and went right back to Yara.
A role model for so many people.
I mean, it overarchingly just kind of surreal, but I have to appreciate the fact that the support comes from me just being me, and so luckily I don't have to like promote some sort of facade to gain that support. But also I feel like it's been amazing because I get to be a part of such an incredible and thoughtful and brilliant community, and so it's very easy to just be constantly motivated and inspired because you look next to you in any which direction, and there are people that are like continuing to work in another industry in another area of your life.
Yeah, I saw Bill Street in Toronto, and one of the sayings that James Baldwin wrote was, "Love brought us here," and you two are both so loved by everybody and are two of the most protected actresses. How does it feel to get that kind of protection, that kind of love from fans and people around you?
Surreal also, yeah. I mean, you definitely get into, I mean, I know for myself, I got into the arts so that I can hopefully create a path to have a reflection for our community, for Latinos, you know?
Look what she just did there. Look, y'all, this is why I tell y'all got to pay attention to everything. First off, notice how high Gina's energy was when this interview started. But then when he checked her and focused on Yara and, talking about Black girls and Black women, her energy went from high to extremely low, like a free fall. Now her demeanor, her posture has changed. Her tone is flat. She feels like she doesn't want to be there anymore because she felt like she was disrespected, which she was not. But also pay attention to what Gina just did. She literally went from all lives mattering, this situation, or all girls matter, or all women matter, to talking about the Latino community. Let me rewind that back.
Fans and people around you.
Surreal also, yeah. I mean, you definitely get into, I mean, I know for myself, I got into the arts so that I can hopefully create a path to have a reflection for our community, for Latinos, you know?
See what she just did? She went from just about a minute ago talking about all women, when the interviewer pointed out about Black women and girls, to talking about our community, Latinos. And in that moment, she probably doesn't even realize what she just did. Or maybe she does. I don't know. I'm not in her head, thank God. But like I said, that's why I like doing breakdowns like this. I'm probably going to clip this and upload it as its own separate video. But just pay attention to that. Her tone changed. She looked uninterested after a while when she got checked. And then she made it about her and her community after she shut down Yara Shahidi when he was asking her about black women and girls.
No, because I like Yara feel that very heavily, and then when I was younger, I didn't see ourselves reflected very often. So to now be living in that is a blessing that is indescribable.
Yeah, I love this. I didn't see black characters in cartoons like this growing up, so it was amazing to see.
Y'all, did y'all peep what he just did? Some of y'all probably didn't even catch what he just did, because she said, she said, when I was growing up, I didn't see our characters, being reflected on screen. She's talking about Latinos again. But then he came back and threw it right back at her and said, when I was growing up, I didn't see a lot of black characters reflected on screen. He kept it central on blackness every time she tried to deflect. That's how you conduct and control an interview. So shout out to this dude for checking her. I always wanted to examine this interview for some reason. And here we are. But now with that being said, I'm going to go ahead now and go on to the last video of the day. And man, let me tell you, when I first saw this thing about triggered me, and it had me stuck at a standstill. But it shows something else that I've been talking about for quite some time when it comes to our interactions with law enforcement. Let me go ahead and make sure the volume is up.
Come on with your hands up! Put your hands on the ground! On the ground right now!
Y'all just saw that, right? Let me run it back.
Come on with your hands up! Put your hands on the ground! On the ground right now!
All right, so y'all just saw that. So this is recording off of a Blink video, which is basically like a Ring. And these cops came to this man's door, used a battering ring, and knocked open his door. Didn't announce themselves. Basically did a no-knock warrant, like they did with Breonna Taylor. Knocked his door open and told him to come out with his hands up. The guy literally walks out with his hands up. And then when he gets to the door, he starts to put his hands down and boom, gets shot. Now, to my knowledge, I don't think they shot him with a bullet. I think it was like a beanbag, because when I listened to it, it didn't sound like a gunshot, with a round. I think someone said they hit him with a beanbag, but either way, he came out with his hands up. He was of no threat. He was unarmed. And the minute he slightly puts his hands down, popped him right there. Now, the reason why I'm showing this is because you have a lot of PC and their co-colonizing cohorts, also known as the black con or conservatives, who will sit up there and say, all we need to do is comply and stop resisting and all this type of stuff. This guy had his hands up and they still shot him. And they didn't even announce themselves. They just knocked the door open. I'm surprised the guy had as much composure as he did, considering they knocked his door open like that. That would have scared anybody. I'm surprised he was as calm as he was when he walked to the door, because anybody would have just jumped, like wondering, like, what in the world is going on? And when I had posted this video up on my Twitter account, I said, I'm waiting. I want to see how PC and their co-colonizing cohorts are going to spin this. Now, a lot of people were thinking that I posted that to see, let me rephrase that. I posted that because I wanted to see what they were going to say, if there was anything to say at all. And somebody, as a matter of fact, 2 people had told me that they had saw comments from 2 different people stating that if he would have just if he would have got down on the ground faster, then he wouldn't have been shot. So they found their reasoning as to why they shot him, because apparently he didn't go on the ground faster, or someone saying, oh, because he put his hands down too fast. Again, they will find any reason or some type of an excuse as to why stuff like this continues to happen. Oh, but this time last year, going into the month of July, we had a string of PC literally getting into hours, and I mean hours with an S, long standoffs with the police. I'm talking about straight up Wild West style shootouts. And they were taken in alive or without injury. And when I had reposted this video on my Twitter account, because it was retweeted from someone else who posted it, it gained a lot of traction. Like it made its rounds, which I'm glad that it did. It got me curious, though. I might actually go around to the usual Black conservatives pages to see if any of them had anything to say about this and what did they have to say exactly. Again, the reason why many of them say stuff like this is because it's not happening to the people who ask they kiss all the time. But I bet you if it happened more frequently, and the thing is, it probably does, but we just don't know about it. But let's say that it does, their tune would have no other choice but to change. But they got to keep up this facade that is Black people that are just inherently savages, or we just don't know how to listen or understand basic instruction. But like I said, I heard that the guy got hit with a beanbag, so it wasn't a gunshot, with rounds and bullets in it. So apparently he's not dead. I couldn't find an article based on this. Hopefully one does arise somehow, some way. And if it does, I'll bring it to people's attention. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention because a lot of people probably didn't even see this video. But when I saw it, I said, yeah, I want to see how they're going to spin this. Exactly. Well, yeah, songwriter. Yeah, he was still shot. No doubt about it. Whether he was shot with a bullet or not, he was still shot, and that hurt too because it was at close range. It's not like he was standing on the other side of the room and they shot from the door. He was right on them, so that hurt even worse. It was enough to put him down. And a lot of times they'll give conflicting responses. They'll say, put your hands up, put your hands down, put your hands behind your back, get on your knees, get on your stomach, get on your back. I'm like, are you giving me instructions? Or are we playing Simon Says? Carlton West said, if he's not dead, he definitely got some internal bleeding. You can delete someone with a beanbag. Oh yeah. Beanbags hurt, especially if they're shot through something. Tedra said, Professor Black Truth Crime Report shows how they can take out cops and still taking them alive. Of course, yeah. Listen, it's endless stories about those. It's so many. It's so hard to keep up with. I could probably have a whole separate channel just dedicated to that and have enough material to last a while. It's so many. And the thing is, I don't even have to go back very far to retrieve them. A lot of them are very recent. That's why I'm glad when Professor Black Truth does those Friday crime reports, because a lot of those stories I don't even know about, like the one he did today. I never heard of that one till today. I'm thinking he's going to talk about one that we most likely heard about recently, but that one I never knew about. And that's the whole point of those type of stories. But I just wanted to show y'all that and show you that there's a stark difference between how they deal with us and how they deal with them. But I mean, y'all don't need a rundown on how that is. We already know the drill. But anyway, but with that being said, that is going to bring this week's live stream to a close. As y'all know, this week's live stream will go up on Patreon. So if you are a patron on Patreon, you will be able to catch the playback of this stream. Shout out to everybody who came through today. Shout out to the Cash App donor as well as the Super Chat donor for today. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day, a great weekend. To all the fathers out there, have a wonderful, nice Father's Day. Spend time with your family, spend time with your kids. And when I say Father's Day, I'm talking about fathers, godfathers, uncles, brothers, male cousins, stepfathers, all of that good stuff. I hope you are treated well and as you should be on your day on Sunday. With that being said, I'm about to get up out of here. Y'all be safe and be one. And grandfathers, right, grandfathers. Thank you, Spidey. And good thing I looked over at the chat. Grandfathers as well. Great grandfathers, if they're still around. Be one, and I'll talk to y'all later.